Hey Twitch, we are back at the AWS Launchpad for reInvent 2019. I'm joined with some special guests to talk about the newly announced Amazon Managed Apache Cassandra service. So before we get started, let's go down the row and introduce yourselves.
Good morning, my name is Arturo Hinosa, and I'm the product manager for Amazon Managed Cassandra Service.
Matt AC, and I work on open source strategy at AWS.
Hi, my name's Ian. I'm back on stream again. I work in AWS Developer Relations.
All right, so let's get started first with, what is Apache Cassandra?
Yeah, so Apache Cassandra is an open source wide column non-relational database. And developers like to use it to store lots and lots of key value data because it provides really good performance and it's really flexible. And it has a really nice query language called CQL, Cassandra Query Language. So if you're used to using like SQL with some other database, right? It makes it really easy to move into the world of NoSQL because you can still run those select star, insert type of statements. So for example, some customers use it to keep track of all the ads they show their customers in their applications, or to track the GPS coordinates of all their IoT devices, or all their things in their application. So lots of really cool use cases, and it's really, really easy to get started.
Cool, all right. So what's Amazon Managed Apache Cassandra Service? Or MCS, I'm going to call it MCS from now on.
That's okay. So, a lot of our customers have been running Cassandra themselves on EC2 for a very long time. But, they had a lot of challenges scaling Cassandra up and down because it is a traditional, cluster-based service. We got to add a node, drop a node, and upgrades are kind of hard. So they asked us, hey, we love the way that DynamoDB is serverless and you can just scale throughput almost infinitely. We'd like Cassandra, but like that. Do it something like that. So we went to the drawing board. We took Apache Cassandra. We made some modifications to make it serverless and for us to run it as a managed service, which let us borrow some of the really cool stuff from DynamoDB, that similar technology for really scalable storage and for auto scaling and all this good stuff. We built a new fully managed serverless offering called Apache Managed Cassandra Service.
Cool, all right. So how is MCS different from Apache Cassandra?
Yeah, so as mentioned, it's serverless, so there's no need to manage nodes, no need to manage clusters. All that stuff is provided for you through the service. The MCS is Apache Cassandra compatible, so we work with the 3.11 API, backwards compatible to the 2 API, and it's got all really cool built-in enterprise features. For example, it's encrypted by default, so if you have a lot of security concerns, all of your storage is encrypted by default, stuff you don't get out of the box with Apache Cassandra. It's much more scalable, so typically with Cassandra you're going to provision a node, which is on an instance, and you got to size that right. With MCS, you can just start reading and writing data immediately once you create your key space and table. We take care of all that capacity management for you, all the storage stuff.
Cool, all right. So I understand you have a demo for us.
Yes.
We can walk through how to get started with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, all right.
Show you how it works. So I pull up here the AWS Management Console, and I'm going to go to the MCS page. And we wanted to make it really, really easy to get started. So the first thing you see here is the Getting Started link, and I'll go through that in detail as we go through the demonstration. We've also got a lot of really easy links on what is Apache Cassandra, how to configure with IAM, and all that sort of good stuff. Links to the docs. We go through some of the key features. So again, Apache Cassandra compatible. It's got performance at scale, so you got single digit latency as you're reading and writing data, pretty much consistent all the way up. Highly available, so all your storage is automatically replicated across 3 availability zones, so for durability and high availability, and it's serverless. We got a couple use cases, but most importantly, because we just announced this in preview this week, we're going to keep you're releasing stuff fast and furious over the next few months. So if you check out the console, you go to the What's New section, we'll be posting all those launch announcements on here, so you can see as we add new features and capabilities.
That's cool.
So let's show you how you get started. So I would just go click this Getting Started link. And Cassandra's data model is basically, I create a key space, and if you use kind of traditional relational databases, that would be your database, and then I create all my tables inside of a key space. So if you're running this on Apache Cassandra, a key space has a bunch of configuration settings on compaction and all this other stuff. Managed service, don't worry about that. You really just create the key space for your grouping of tables for a particular application or a use case. So I'll go ahead and create a key space with one click. We're going to run that code, which you could also copy and use your own tools with. And I've created my key space. Now, I'm going to create a table, again, and I can see the actual code I'm going to run when I click the button, and create a new table in my key space called tutorial table, which is going to have, we'll call it customers, their names, their emails, and how old they are. Now that I've got my table, which is give it a second here. There we go, my table. I'm going to add data to that table. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a record for a customer named John, 21 years old, john@example.com, cool. Enter that data, awesome. So in a few very short clicks, I've now created a key space, I've created a table, and I've added data to that table.
Can you just, there's a question on stream there from Wayne Folks. Can you explain the difference between a key space and a schema in a relational database?
Absolutely. So a schema defines how the structure of your table looks, right? What are the rows, what are the attributes, the data types. A key space is more of a container. So think of the key space as the bag. Every table goes in that bag, and your schema defines what those tables look like.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, you also use schemas in Cassandra, and I'll show you what that looks like as I go through the demonstration.
Great, thanks.
Cool. So I got a few short quick. As I mentioned earlier, one of the nicest parts about Cassandra is that query language. So I am going to actually now query it using the built-in SQL editor within the console. So I'll go ahead and go here. Brings up the SQL editor, and I'm just going to run that query. And it's going to be a select star from my tutorial key space, my tutorial table, and in a few short seconds, I've returned back that John user, which I created earlier. Pretty easy to get started. That took, what, like a minute? So you're up and running with table and key space. Now, let's say you wanted to create a new table. Really easy to do. So I'll go to my key spaces tab first, and you can see within the key space, the only real setting that you have to manage with MCS is the replication strategy. This is how we replicate your data across different locations. Now, for the preview, we're only going to support single region replication, so it's replicated 3 times within a single region across 3 AZs. As we go closer and we launch new features, we plan to introduce cross-region replication. So I'll be able to replicate my data from perhaps Northern Virginia to Ohio or any of the West Coast regions, Europe, wherever you want. So I'll go to my key space. Now let's go ahead and add a new table to this key space. Let's say this is going to be an app for a bookstore. So I'll create the table, and I'm going to call my table books. Cool. I'm then going to add the columns to this table. So people that read books are smarter than me, tell me ISBN is a really unique way of identifying a book. That gives us a very well-distributed data model, so we're not going to get any sort of hot keys or whatever. So that's going to be my primary key. But let's add some more columns, right? Let's make the ISBN a text thing. Most books I hear have titles. We'll give it an author. And let's also give it a genre. So I've now defined the schema for my table with all the columns that I want. Now, the next thing I'll do is I'll define the primary key. Now, the primary key uniquely identifies all of the items in my table. So I'm going to pick, again, ISBN, because that'll give me a very well-distributed data model. Now, maybe you have some really popular books. If I wanted to also add for a store or a state or region, I could keep adding more columns to my primary key to keep making my data more well-distributed and improving my data model. Now, I have bought 1 or 2 books in my lifetime, and sometimes I look them up by mystery or by genre. Cassandra also lets you define a clustering column, and this enables you to sort your data within a particular partition. So if, for example, I want to look for mystery books, I can say, perfect, I want to now sort my data by genre, and I'll get all those mystery books together when I query my table, making it more efficient to, again, search and query the table, and you can choose whether you want order, ascending or descending order. So again, we always want to help you get started with CQL, so we'll show you the exact
So this actually builds the query for you as you're going through.
Exactly.
Oh, cool.
It's really
Awesome.
neat, right? Yeah,
Yep.
Thank you. We're pretty proud of that.
Yep.
Our engineer, we're going to give him a gold star for that one. So now I'll go ahead and create that table, and I've created my table in my key space. Really easy to do.
Cool.
Yeah. So if I wanted to add more data to the table, right, we've got a little extra time here, and because all of my team is huge Seahawks fans, obnoxious Seahawks fans, go Niners. So let's say I wanted to add a book to my table, right? Really easy to do. I'm going to go ahead and use the query editor. Well, let's say I don't remember how to insert data. I forgot that part of SQL. I can always go back to the Getting Started page, grab that query for inserting data, copy it to my clipboard, go back to my tables. Let's go to my books table. And again, I'm just going to query the table right from the console again. I'm going to drop in that query. That's going to say key space. Now we're going to call it, title, author, genre, and ISBN. Where'd I go? Title, greatest team ever, 49ers. The author is going to be Arturo. Nonfiction. And the ISBN is going to be 12345. Cool. I can just run that command. And again, oh, there's an error in my syntax. So then I could go troubleshoot that and all that sort of good stuff. Where did I go? So I'll do that later. This is what happens when I try to tease about the Seahawks. The system fights back at me.
2 questions from Stream. Yeah. So the first one is a sort of non-relational, relational database level 100 question, which is, when would you choose the managed Apache Cassandra service versus a relational database? So what is the sort of sweet spot of use cases for this kind of service?
Yeah, I mean, if you check out the AWS purpose-built databases page, we go into this question in pretty good depth. But at the end of the day, relational databases give you really good stuff like joins, stored procedures, that sort of stuff. A non-relational database is made for massive scale problems, right? And I have key value data where I basically just have like metadata about users or inventory IoT. These things just scale to massive cloud application proportions, and that's when a NoSQL non-relational database is going to be better.
Consistent performance, right? Even at high scale, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, great. And then the second question has already been answered by, I think, one of our mods, but just to answer that on the stream as well, access is via a set of open source drivers. So you're going to find a Cassandra driver for Java, a Cassandra driver for Python, always language appropriate, and that's how you access the data.
It really is. With all those drivers, you typically define your cluster as like a host name or an IP. Now you're just going to drop in the service endpoint, which is going to be like, Cassandra01.aws.com or something like that for whatever region, and it just works.
So that's
really nice.
That's probably answered my next question, was going to be, does this work with my existing Cassandra tools as a developer?
SQL SH, all those drivers, all of your SQL application code, just a matter of changing the service endpoint.
Cool. So Apache Cassandra's an open source project, okay? So how do we plan to participate in that community?
Well, first of all, I'm noticing that I'm the only person here without a laptop. Don't read anything into that, that I couldn't be trusted with a computer. If you think about the open source community, Cassandra existed before this service did, before MCS did, and it's in our interest to continue to feed that community, to help contribute to that community. The stronger the Cassandra community, the stronger the demand will be for MCS. So with that in mind, we've already talked about the things that, at the code level, things that we're willing to do or able to do today in terms of contributing bug fixes. There are some interesting projects around Cassandra, like pluggable storage, that we're looking at that we'd like to contribute to, but we're also trying to be humble about this. We realize that we're coming into this, we're new to the Cassandra community. We don't think that we have all the answers. We think that we can provide significant benefits to it, but we want to work with the community to understand the best places that we can lend our expertise. The other way, and it kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning, the other thing that we can do is just running Cassandra as a service and making more people familiar with CQL, more familiar with the Cassandra API, more comfortable running Cassandra. The more people that we can get moving off of old guard databases and using modern databases like Cassandra, it's fantastic. Obviously, we would love for them to be running it with us, but it's more important that they just be running it and getting familiar with and comfortable with the API and the query language.
Right, cool. All right, so I think we have a couple more questions on the chat. Let me see. Somebody asked, do you define one partition key, or can you have many, like a GSI in DynamoDB? And is there a limit on clustering keys?
Yeah, there is the ability to define a composite partition key. So as I talked about, you can add multiple columns, and then you can also have multiple sort keys. So it really gives you a lot of flexibility there. With DynamoDB, you're at the moment it's one partition key, one sort key. With Cassandra, it's multiple compound partition key, then you can have multiple sort columns.
Okay, and what about authentication? Because it's not going to be IAM, it's not behind an AWS SigV4 endpoint, so what is the authentication model?
It actually is.
It is?
Yeah, and that's actually one of the things we're thinking about contributing back to the open source community is enabling people just running Cassandra themselves to leverage that IAM integration. So if you are going to do programmatic access, you first set up server-specific credentials that'll give you a username and password backed by IAM, which you then drop into your configuration to access the service.
Okay, great, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we have a little bit more time left, so is there anything else you want to let the viewers know?
No, I think really kick it a tire. It's in preview. It's in the North Virginia, Ohio, Stockholm, Tokyo, and Singapore regions for the preview. Yeah, I'm pretty good at that. A couple key things I will point out about pricing. So it is on-demand throughput for the preview. We'll introduce provision capacity as you get closer to GA. So that lets you, either just get started with a workload and pay for read and write, or if you have a more predictable workload where you want to optimize for price, you'll be able to set that capacity up front with provision capacity.
Okay.
And lots of cool stuff is coming throughout the preview and GA.
Great.
All right. Shall we summarize how users get started with this then? So they go to the product page.
Yep. AWS at Amazon.com/MCS. You'll find lots of information about the service there, links to our documentation,
Okay.
MCS, sort of the quick link everywhere. Go in here, you'll find all the endpoints and the documentation, instructions on setting up, the server-specific credentials and IAM roles, all that good stuff.
Great.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right. I think we're done.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll wrap it up
awesome.
there. We'll
Yeah.
be right back with another
Alright.
roaming camera segment. Thanks for joining us on stream, and thanks, of course, to our guests for this segment.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
Twitch.
you.
See you
Thanks.
soon.